Hi everybody, time for your week 2 wake-up call in Humanities 103 Mythology. So remember, the first thing you do each week is check out your weekly wake-up call, which obviously you are doing because you're listening to me. So excellent work so far. The second thing you want to do is check that course schedule. So even though I typically tell you what tasks and assignments are due that week, you still need to check that course schedule for due dates and to get a sense of what's coming up in subsequent weeks. So this is a pretty easy week. We are going to round out our topic, Introduction to Myth. In a minute, I'll show you what you need to be reading or viewing. And then you have a discussion post called The Three Types of Myth. So if you go to the Modules tab and click on Week 2, this is what you'll see. And right away you see you have a little bit more work this week than you did last week. You have some articles, guidelines for studying myth, three types of myth, the problem of similarities. You have a couple of videos. All of these really interesting and fill in some of the gaps from last week. So really what we're doing these first 2 weeks is establishing a rock-solid definition of myth that we are going to use for the rest of the semester, and to kind of round out the idea of how do myths function? Why do we tell myths? It's really important that you read that article, The Three Types of Myth. It's not the definitive answer, of course, but it is certainly one author's idea of how myths might actually be categorized. And that would be the basis of your discussion post this week. It's very important that you always read the articles and watch the videos for every week. We will have a midterm quiz, and all three of your major assignments will draw upon information that shows up in these weekly readings. So for our purposes, this is what we're going to be working off this week, or excuse me, this semester. This is a direct quote from your reading last week. Myths, as we will use them in this class, are ancient narratives involving the relation of humans and gods that attempt to answer the enduring and fundamental human questions. All right, so let's just unpack that a little bit. So when we say humans and gods, we might be talking about the Judeo-Christian God, but we certainly could be talking about pantheons of gods and goddesses and characters in myths that have appeared since the very beginning of storytelling. So these do not necessarily have any really overt, religious significance, unless it's a myth that is really a part of your particular religious beliefs and observances. The other part of that is this myth isn't just a fun story, that we tell kids for entertainment. There really are some deep human purposes and questions involved. Of course, the first one is, how did we get here? We look around, we see, bipedal humans, we see animals, we see plants, and our natural first question is, where did all this come from? And every single culture on the planet and throughout history has come up with a story to explain that. And we're going to be looking at those in Module 3. So who am I? Why am I here? What's my purpose in life? How did I get to be a person? How do I relate to other people? How do I explain these natural phenomena that I see, like floods and lightning and spring and fall and summer? So all of those are rich subjects for myths. So now let's just take a look at your discussion post. I'm not going to read the whole thing for you, obviously, because you can access it. But it's kind of fun that some of you last week chose Santa Claus as one of the prevailing myths that's had an influence on you. Well, today we're going to look at Santa Claus just a little bit more closely. So you read that online textbook chapter on 3 types of myths. And now I want you to use that framework to analyze the story of Santa. Now, I'm not suggesting that every single one of us has the same version of Santa, or that you even do. You know, if you grew up in a culture that Santa or some derivative of the Santa Claus character was simply not a part of it, obviously that's you, that's your culture. There's nothing wrong with that. But what I'd like you to do is call upon the things that you've probably read about or seen in a movie, or a Coke commercial, or I think most people on the planet have some sense of who this Santa character is. So we're not strictly speaking about the American version of Santa. So there will be two parts to the analysis, a part 1A and a part 1B. Those are due on Thursday. And then there will be a peer response where you'll be looking at other people's responses to this. And I hope you look at several, because I have a feeling these are going to be really, really interesting to hear about how other people conceptualize this character of Santa, the Santa myth. So by Sunday, you'll be reading several people's posts and responding to one person using the framework or the prompts that I have provided. Remember, if you have any questions about any of the assignments or procedures or course site this week, be sure and post a question under the Ask the Instructor discussion thread so that everybody else can see the answer. If it's a question that has a more personal topic to it or issue, then by all means contact me via my email. And last thing is office hours. I promised you that we would start office hours this week. Typically, we will hold office hours on Tuesdays. However, this week I got called to jury duty, so I don't know what I'll be doing on Tuesday, frankly. We will meet on Wednesday, that's September 1st, between 10 and 12. Now remember, office hours are optional. You can jump into the Zoom call at any time between those two times if you have a question or if you just want to chat. But you don't have to. There's the Zoom link and the passcode. If that doesn't work for you, or you would just like to contact me personally, I'd be more than happy to set up a Zoom call or chat where we could get together one-on-one. So all you have to do is let me know. All right, that's it for this week. I think you'll find the readings and videos really interesting, and I'm looking forward to reading your discussion posts this week. Okay, have a good one.